Hello and welcome to Witchy Wellness Radio. I'm your host, Lauren Chalantani, women's holistic health coach and fellow recovering perfectionist. This podcast was created to show you that your body is not in the way, it is actually leading your way. Hello everybody and welcome back to Witchy Wellness Radio. And you're listening to episode number 48, Do Less and Make More with Jenny Fenig. And again, I am your host, Lauren Chalantani, and I'm so happy to have you guys here. This show has been such a blessing for me, and I think this episode marks our 2-year anniversary, and I honestly did not think we would be here today, but I just love sharing all this beautiful information, my heart with you guys, and getting to talk with these beautiful people like Jenny today, where we talk about kind of the spiritual side of business and entrepreneurship and how to tap into your inner witch and, cash in on your calling. More on that in a little bit, but I wanted to take a break and offer you guys something from my heart for free downloadable. I mentioned this last week, but I wanted to really drive this home, and I think this will benefit every single one of you, is that I created this daily intention checklist. And who doesn't love a good checklist? But during these times when all of us are probably off our kilter with our schedules, with family, with work, with our own self-care, that the days just seem to disappear. And with that, your sense of self disappears too. So I created this easy PDF checklist that's editable on your computer or on your phone, so no need for printing. And what this does is you, at the beginning of the day, get to set how you want to feel today, no matter what's going on. So what we do is you set that intention of how you want to feel, whether it's a feeling or a few words or a sentence describing it. And I have a few different pre-filled categories, or there's a page where you can fill out your own categories where you might put work, family life, and then another category might be self-care or health. And put little tasks for each category of your life that make you feel more like your intention for the day. So maybe your intention is to feel more grounded. How can I feel more grounded in my work? How can I feel more grounded with my family? And how can I feel more grounded in my self-care or in my own health and body? So this is a simple checklist, and who doesn't love a good checklist? I love crossing shit off all the time to help empower you to realize you do have control of how you feel. And if you make a strong enough decision each day to begin again, your whole world will change. And you start to realize that life is not happening to us. It's really indeed happening for us. And that we become the masters of our lives, and that our happiness, our emotional state is not dependent upon what's going outside of our head or our body. We alone can control and foster how we feel and who we want to be in this life. So if you're interested, head on over to my website, laurenchalantani.com/intention, and it's also linked in the show notes below. But without further ado, please enjoy today's show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Witchy Wellness Radio. And again, I am your host, Lauren Chalantani. And today we have the pleasure of talking with Jenny Fenig. She helps spiritual entrepreneurs, just like possibly some of you are, get clear on what you're here to do, who you're here to help, and how to design the business, brand, and profitable offers to help more and to have more without working 24/7 like a maniac and have no life. Her mission is to help you cash in on your calling through your own sacred work. Welcome to the show, Jenny.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I'm excited to talk to you today.
I am too. Now, we haven't had very many business type at all. And I think this is a beautiful opportunity for people to kind of take a look at themselves and what they're passionate about. If they're an entrepreneur or maybe not an entrepreneur yet, and kind of really do that deep work. Because I know you and I both know being an entrepreneur is like the biggest, self-care, but also self-improvement that you can do.
Yes, absolutely.
And
it's a wild ride.
It's a wild, wild ride. And I wanted to know how you got into all this, because I know you started out in a great high paying job in New York and was in this corporate PR world, and to doing the work that you do today. And we even talked off air about transitioning it even more into this magic kind of point of view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I'm talking to you today from Florida. I was born in Florida. I'm right now visiting my in-laws with my family, and it allows me to tap into my roots a bit more. Like I'm literally sweating. It's so hot. The sun is out, and it's a good place for me to go back in time and to think about how this all began. So I went to the University of Florida for college, and I discovered the field of public relations after having never heard of that, until that point. And, I thought I would become a teacher. That's what I originally had gone to school for. And once I discovered PR, I said, oh my gosh, this is me. Like, this is it. I'm a fantastic communicator. That major tended to attract students who were this fabulous communicators with the written word, with oral presentations, and then they worked hard and they played hard as well. And my friends that I met there were quite ambitious, and they encouraged me to go to New York City for an internship between my junior and senior years of college. And without them making that suggestion, I never would have done that. And that's the power of surrounding yourself with people who want big things like you do. And it's so important to make that point, because, it's very easy to kind of just stay in this small little box where you might have grown up, or your people around you are maybe satisfied with things that you're not. And it doesn't mean that they're wrong and you're right. It simply means that you're here for something. You were brought onto this earth to fulfill an assignment. And once we wake up to that, then there's no going back to sleep. And so you've got to really be willing to be bold and brave and do things that maybe you never thought you would do. But as you think about it, as you feel into it, you go, there's something about this. I'm going to trust it, even if I have no idea where this is going to take me. So I went to New York City between junior and senior years of college. I hated it at first. I just thought this place is crazy. It's so unlike where I grew up. I grew up in a small beach town. And then after about a month of culture shock, I realized how much I adored it. And you could really be anything that you wanted to be there. And I decided to move back after I graduated from college. That same agency who hired me as an intern hired me back to come and be an assistant account executive working on these big accounts for major brands that everyone here has heard of. And I had a lot of responsibility. I had a business, American Express. I traveled around at that point the country on these projects for clients, and I learned really quickly, and eventually started doing global business, was traveling around the world with a celebrity spokesperson. And, it was interesting, and I enjoyed the people I worked with. But what I realized was that I didn't enjoy the work enough. All right. And there's a distinction there. You can enjoy the people you work with and the place that you work for. But if you don't enjoy the work enough, then that is not sustainable if you are really tuned into why you're here, or the fact that you are here for a particular reason, and it's your job to figure out what that is and go fulfill it. So I ended up leaving that company and really leaving that career, if you will, or that particular career path. And I jumped into a whole nother arena, which was conference production, which again, I had never heard of that before. You see a theme here? Like, never heard of it. But then, oh, okay, maybe there's something to that. And in that particular role, I was responsible for conducting research with business executives in the marketing and business strategy, customer management, and design arenas. I would get on the phone with these executives and cold call them, I should mention, which if you've never cold called before, it's terrifying and also one of the best educations you can ever get. And essentially trying to get people to talk to me and to reveal their biggest challenges and what was keeping them up at night in their work. And my job was to really take down their responses, tune in, listen to them, know how to ask follow-up questions, and then turn all of that research into a product that they would buy. And that product was a business conference, typically a 3-day conference, maybe a 4-day conference that was premium priced and that they would come to attend. My job also was to recruit the speakers to speak at that event. And so I had to do a lot of outreach. Like some events I had 100 speakers, and I figured out that my ratio was about for every 5 speakers I would invite, one would say yes. And so if I needed 100 speakers, I needed to reach out to 500 to fill that program. And it was a huge education in putting myself out there, not taking, rejection personally, and also understanding the concept of profitability. Because in that particular role, I received a cut of the profits of my events. And it really taught me how to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know I was going to be an entrepreneur. I thought I was in this kind of New York City corporate life. I had, come a far away from home to create this life. And at that point I had gotten married, and my husband was a big influence for me and an inspiration for me to realize that there was more to life than that particular way of living. And I was starting to experience, and pretty much in both of those jobs, I had extreme stress and pressure. There were times when I'd have like panic attacks, and I felt like I was choking when it was kind of bizarre. I would eat food and I felt like I was choking. And my husband's like, you can't. I'm like, no, seriously, like the food would be going down. I felt like so slow. And I would go into these panics. And looking back, I know now it was because I was completely out of alignment. I wasn't supposed to be doing this anymore. And it's a thing to realize that when you know this isn't right, this isn't healthy for me. I've learned everything I'm meant to learn. I'm grateful for having this experience, but it's time for me to go. But you don't know where to go. And so that I dealt with that for a while, just this whole, where am I supposed to go next? What's wrong with me? Why can't I be satisfied? I was making a lot of money in that last job, but it just wasn't right. And my soul was trying to get my freaking attention. It was doing it in all different ways. And eventually I made a pact with myself. It was on my 30th birthday. And I was on a business conference at a business conference in Las Vegas. And I had this like moment where I just realized I couldn't avoid this any longer. I couldn't avoid this truth anymore. And so I made a pact with myself and said, I'm going to make a change by the end of this year. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I'm going to make a change. And I decided to sign up for a yoga teacher training program. I had been practicing yoga for several years at that point. It always made me feel good. I made better choices when I would be practicing yoga and just living a yogic lifestyle, not even, practicing asana all the time, but just really being observant of the purpose of yoga, which was it still is to achieve mastery over the mind. And I really, really loved that. And I decided to follow that hit and train to become a yoga teacher. And that decision absolutely has led to where I am today, which is the leader of a very powerful, potent coaching and training company. We help women start and grow businesses, especially online businesses, utilizing the gifts and the talents and the expertise that they already have. A big focus of my work is helping women honor their craft. especially the craft of coaching, because I have found that a lot of the women who come to work with me, a lot of them are therapists, they're healers of some sort, they're in the health and wellness field, they're fitness professionals, they're consultants, maybe they have a corporate background like me, and they have this craft, but it's kind of leaky in terms of the way they've designed it. They are not touching all the lives that they could. They're not making the money that they could. And it's because they just haven't really honored the craft of how they could be shaping things and honored what needs to happen in their business to ensure that the way that they're spending their time is the best way in terms of their satisfaction levels and their compensation levels. And so it's been a wild journey, as you can tell, lots of twists and turns. But I'd say the main point that has been critical for me has been to listen to that intuition and make moves even when I wasn't sure where those moves were going to take me.
What really stands out to your story and so many other stories that we hear on this show is that, your soul is really speaking through you and especially through your body. And, the tagline we say on the show is your body is not in the way, it's leading your way. And really flipping that upside down is, okay, yeah, I might feel like I'm choking when I'm eating, or, maybe I'm having hormonal issues or my hip hurts or whatever it can be, digestion. But your body is really trying to tell you, knock, knock. Are you listening?
Yes.
I've got something to say.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so important. It's so, I wish that I would have been taught that, as a young girl. I've learned it. And I think, the other piece that I wish I would have been taught as a young girl is just the power of the moon and her influence on our lives. Like, that's been a big focus of mine, a place of discovery and exploration and just pure joy that I've realized just how much my body is connected to her and my own cycle, her phases. And that's something that I have really studied and now share with my clients, that whole piece that we are her and she is us. And when we realize that we're always being guided and that we are cyclical and that we have phases just like she does, then we don't question ourselves so much. We don't try to compare ourselves to this person or to the masculine structure that so many things have been created from.
Oh, 100%. I love thinking about the idea of every day is a different cycle, but tuning into your own cycle and the moon cycle and how that can relate to your own well-being and health, but also how you can use that for time management and for your creative abilities and, speaking and, where to block in what to do during what phase. So could you speak kind of like a few applications that you use that kind of in your maybe business world, and if you have any other tips like health-wise too?
Yeah. So we created a tracker that we give to our clients. I have a membership program called Magic Makers Collective, and we created this tracking guide, if you will, and then it comes to life. We have a Facebook group, and so at every kind of cross point of the lunar cycle, we'll have a post that goes out. It will guide them to get out their moon cycle tracker and look at new moon, first quarter moon, full moon, last quarter moon, and really to honor the energy that is all around us at that point. And so at new moon is where I will guide my clients to do this as well, really tune into a place of quiet, rest, renewal, and ultravision. And so to honor that, right? Like, I'm very, active. I have dreams. I have always considered myself, as I mentioned, quite ambitious. And in order for me to do all of that, I must be willing to get still and get quiet And it's so, so important to do this at new moon. And P.S., this is the time where, for those of you who still cycle, this is really reflected in the energy that you feel when you're bleeding. Okay. And so when you're on your period, it's very much the same energy of the new moon. And so sometimes we sync up, like you're bleeding when it's the new moon, but not always. And so wherever you are, just understand that the moon's got a certain energy and you have a certain energy going on in your body. And you want to be cognizant of both. And so at new moon, it's rest, renewal, and ultravision. And you are really tuning into where you've been in this last leg of the journey and where you're called to go next. Where do you want to be putting your energy, putting your attention, putting your awareness, because that is what is most likely to grow and be made manifest. And so get quiet, get still. I love taking a bath at new moon. Like that's one of my favorite things to do. And also just to sit, like if you have a meditation practice, and allow yourself to dream, allow yourself to set that intention. Here's the energy that I'm bringing. Here's what I'm welcoming in. And then do you have a few goals, a few things that this, and this. This is where I want to go. This is what I'm bringing my energy to. And then I want to make sure that it's clear. We don't get attached to those results, okay? It's not what we're doing, because that's where we then move into suffering, because we can't control every single outcome, right? All we can control is the way we show up, the energy we bring, right? And our own mindset, our own belief system, and then how we're going to show up for this intention, these goals. But go ahead and set them, and don't hold yourself back. Don't censor. Don't start editing, going, oh my, how is that ever going to happen? And that's impossible, because you're basically just saying to the universe, you're saying to God, I can't go further than this, and I don't believe that you can take me there. So I want you all to go like far out and really, really claim what you desire without getting attached to exactly how it's going to go down and if it's going to happen and when. Because some things take longer than you think. And just because something's not working on your timetable doesn't mean that it's not working. Yeah. And so then we move into that first quarter moon. That's when you look up into the sky and you see the right side of the moon halfway filled. All right. That's when you know you're at first quarter moon. And that is when we are really planting those seeds. It's like, how committed are you? It's like, where are you going and how committed are you? Are you making those moves? Are you putting the calls out? Are you sending the emails? Are you doing the exercise that you said you were going to be doing? Are you showing up for this particular relationship? Have you done the research? Have you taken the steps, basically, that are going to help what you stated at new moon to have a chance of becoming real? And so this is when the energy is building. This is when you start feeling like, yes, I can ride this wave. Yes, it's very powerful. Yes, I have this belief. So that's at first quarter moon. All right. Once you move into full moon, and we all know what the full moon looks like in the sky, that's when you are in your fullest power. All right. That's when, oh my, you're like unstoppable. And then when it's connected to your body, that's when you would be ovulating. All right. I have 3 children. I know what ovulation is. I know that I needed those 3 chances to be ovulating to be where I am today, which is a mom of 3. And that's the energy of the full moon. When you are like, you're a force, you are emanating so much energy, you have so much magic coming out of your veins, out of your bones, out of your essence, out of your being. If you are, have the chance to, if those of you who might be doing speaking or doing any kind of visibility, doing it at full moon is like super freaking potent. This is when you would be, just really, really magnetic, really magical. I lead a lot of retreats in my business, whether they be in-person retreats or virtual retreats or virtual gatherings. We do full moon circles in my business. And I love leading them at full moon because there's just something that is going on that is so fabulous. And my women who are there, they're feeling it too, and they're fully in that magic moment as well. So if you want to just practice this at home, you can doing a fire circle at full moon is really awesome. Even if you have a fireplace, you can do this, or even if it's just with a candle. But something that we love doing in my life and in my business is that we will burn things at full moon. And so you can burn what is not serving you. You can burn what's not going to be coming with you as you journey forward. And so that full moon is just ultra, ultra potent, which you all know. There's so many things that happen at full moon that are kind of unique and that are less likely to happen at other points in the cycle. And then at that last quarter moon, that is when you're letting go to rise higher. That is when you realize, okay, at this point you've seen there are certain things that have been made manifest. There are certain things that have not been made manifest. And you need to let go of what is not going to be coming with you. Like you're realizing, you know what, I'm going to let go of this particular thing. It's not time yet. I'm going to let go of this old belief pattern. I'm going to let go of thinking that I'm doing this all on my own. I'm going to also finalize certain things that you need to finalize in order to finish a particular project, finish a particular thing that is important for you. And so you're maybe signing the contract, you are shipping this thing, you are having that conversation, you are in this energy of finishing. What I see a lot of in my work is that starting is one thing. It requires a lot of courage to start, but it requires a whole nother energy to finish, to finish, to finish. And I want you all to finish things. Be willing to finish. Be brave enough to finish. Don't worry about, well, what might happen, and is this good enough, or what are people going to say, or blah, 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 blah. It's like, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you are courageous enough to take something to that next stage.
Tied to all of that, how do you in your own life and help other people do less and make more with maybe applying those principles and maybe something else as well?
Yeah. Well, what I shared with you is definitely a key to that. When you understand that working with the energy is way more fun and a lot more efficient than pushing against the energy. And I'm talking about the energy of the cosmos, the energy of the moon, the energy of your own body. And when you do that, your intuition is going to speak to you so much more powerfully. You're going to be in flow. You're going to feel in alignment. You're still going to get afraid. Okay. Like, let's just put that out there, because we just need to. In my job as a coach, I hear this all the time. I help my clients move through these blocks. I help them realize that, fear is excitement without the breath. So don't worry when that fear comes up, but then it's time to really get into your body and then ask yourself, like, what freaking kind of life do you want to be living? Like, what kind of life do you want to have? Do you want to look back and have regrets and like, oh, I wish I would have done that? I mean, most people, they don't regret the things that they did. They regret the things that they didn't do. And so I want you all to be really brave and really courageous, work with that energy. And then also understand something that I use in my work, and I teach my clients about this too, is to then get granular around time. Energy is one thing. Certainly what we talked about is talking about energy. Energy of your body is another. Like you and I talked, Lauren, before this conversation. I went out for a really nice run, and I was, just moving my body and pushing myself and challenging myself and listening to great music. I was listening to Avicii, and there was a song that came on. I love all of his work. But there was this, I can't remember the name of the song, but there was a lyric in there that's like, one day, you'll leave this world behind, so live a life that you'll remember. And that just got into my bones as I was doing it. It pushed me to continue and to get back in time for our conversation and all those things. But we've got to work with this energy. Our energy is what attracts people, places, opportunities, abundance to us, wellness to us. And it's also, it repels what's not a fit. All right. And so work with that. And then when it comes to granular conversations around time, right? Like we have these these elements of time, these measurements of time that we all are operating under in this world. What I do is I'm very much about batching my tasks and chunking my time. And so I will look at my life, and that's something I can offer your listeners too. We can do that at the end, Lauren. I have a tool that they can download and play with this. But it's essentially where you're going, okay, like for me in my work, I have, certain clients that I'll talk to. I'll have group calls that I'm running. I have, interviews like this that I'll do. I have a family. I homeschool my kids, I should mention. And so that is a whole nother conversation and something that, I've got to have time for. And so people ask me all the time, how do you do all that you do, Jenny? I can't even understand how you're able to do that. And it's because I'm a master of my energy, and which boils down to me being a master of my time. And so I will block off chunks of time on my calendar that say, okay, on, these particular days, these are the days that I'll work with private clients or do group calls during this batch of time. In the mornings, I'm with my kids. On these days, I have, my time where nothing is booked. I'm doing writing, I'm doing creative work, I'm exercising, I'm taking care of myself, body, mind, spirit, right? And on these days, it's just open time for family, for fun, for adventure. And I don't deviate from that. I'm very, very focused on that. I protect that because I know by doing so, I'm able to have a big impact, and I'm doing it without working myself into the ground. I'm just not willing to do that. I've already done that. I did that in my 20s. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm now in my 40s. That ship has sailed. So I want everyone to embrace this idea. And this requires you to be very disciplined and also to be willing to disappoint people. Most people don't live this way. They love wasting time. They love being, quote, crazy busy. They love feeling like that's a badge of honor and that you need to be like that too. When people come to me and they say, you must be so busy, I say, no, I'm not. I'm very intentional about my time. So yes, while my life is full and sometimes it's fuller than others, I'm intentional about that. And I don't feel like I'm overwhelmed and that I have too many things on my plate because I have been very mindful about how I'm scheduling things and what I'm saying yes to and what I'm saying no to.
Yeah, so saying no for me is key, is, being sacred. My sacred time is my sacred time. And if those things don't align with that, then you have to say no. And I've still worked through that and being okay with, even if it's like my family who wants to last minute do something or, whatever. It's like, no, this is what I have done. I committed to myself. Because
yes.
For me, it's like, I always think nothing's going to change unless something changes. So if you, keep letting go of those boundaries or not committing or respecting your own time, then that's going to reflect in yourself and also your work that you're trying to put out into this world or the clients that you're getting.
Yes, totally. And you have to, it's like, it says the same thing with my dad recently. I adore my dad and he doesn't live near me. And he was suggesting some times to come visit. And the first time he suggested was like, he would leave the day before. I have a retreat that I'm leading this May, and he would leave like the day before the retreat. And I just knew, I was like, no way. I'm not going to be present. I'm going to be, getting prepared energetically, physically with my team, getting everything dialed in. We're going to have women flying in from all over the world for that. And so that's not going to work for me. It's just not going to work. And so I was just very clear. Thank you for bringing that up. That time's not going to work. We actually had him come up. He just came up for a visit, and he'll come up again. We're figuring out when that is. But my dad's retired, and my in-laws right now, I'm at their place. They're retired too. It's like they're not working. So especially if you're working with people who are retired or who may, which maybe a lot of your parents, or people who don't view their work the way you do. And again, that's not a personal attack on them. It's that some of us have been called for something big, and it requires our energy and it requires our discipline to say, yeah, I can't go do that thing with you because I'm writing something or I'm finishing this thing. Or, I did that on this trip. I was finishing, we have a coach certification And you and I talked about it before we hit record on this, Lauren. We had been running this program for 5 years, and I knew it was time to evolve it. It was like, I just couldn't ignore it anymore. We were going to need to revamp, redesign, rebrand, re-record modules, the whole thing. And I needed to finish it. And the finishing was going to happen here on this trip in Florida. And so there was one particular day I just said to my husband, I need you to take the kids. This thing's got to get done. It's like when you're giving birth. And again, I've given birth 3 times, like when the baby's going to come when the baby's coming. And you can't be like, sorry, I'm going to put you back in. Like, nope, baby's coming. And so the baby needed to come. The baby needed to be born on that particular day. And, I had to wrestle with my own feelings like, oh, we're on this trip. I should be available. It's like, I'm with my kids a lot. Again, we homeschool them. My husband and I share that responsibility. We have tutors, we have classes, we have a whole operation that goes on to accomplish that. But I knew what needed to be done. And I have said yes to this assignment. I've said yes to this mission. This is the way I express my essence in the world. And I'm here to help people. And that helping doesn't always happen between, Monday through Friday from 9 to freaking 5. Like, that's not my life. That's not my life. If I wanted that life, I could have stayed in corporate, but I left that life because I wanted something else. And I'm here and I'm willing to show up and do what it takes.
Amen. I'm just thinking, so for someone who's like listening to this and is like, yes, I completely agree. My heart is feeling called for something else, something bigger. I know exactly what I don't want, but I don't know how to decipher the intuition between the critic or where to go next. What would you have to say about that?
Well, they can definitely go read my book because that's exactly what it walks them through. That's like the most comprehensive answer I could give you. The book is called Get Gutsy. And that's exactly why I wrote it, because that was what I struggled with. And all those years, I spent a decade in New York City working at these very stressful jobs and rewarding, amazing people, brilliant people. And I felt so lost in those jobs because once I realized that the work wasn't for me, you come to this place, well, then now what do I do? Now what do I do? And both of those situations, it wasn't like, well, I'll go work at another PR agency or I'll go work at another conference production company. I could have done that, but I would have still been doing the same work. And so when you don't know the work that you're here to do, if that's you right now listening, listen, I send you so much love because I know how frustrating that is. And I know how scary it can feel because you're almost like without an anchor, right? You're just kind of, bobbing around at sea in this boat. But what I can say is to really get clear on your why. Why are you showing up? Why do you get out of bed every day? Why are you continuing to, shine your light in the world? And, here's an exercise I do with my people is I have them imagine that they're at the top of a mountain with, themselves and a group of people, because my work I know is to help my people help their people. Like that's my thing. And a lot of my people are coaches. They're some kind of, healing professionals, service professionals. They have a heart for helping and they want to do it in a bigger way, a more sustainable way, and a more lucrative way. So this is a great exercise, though, even for people who are like, well, I don't know exactly what it is, because I believe that we're all here to help people, in our own way. And so it's just deciding on what exactly is the way you're going to do that. Like, what's the craft that you're bringing out into the world? And are you doing it for yourself? Are you working for another company? Like, what does that look like? You may be, a parent, going to be a stay-at-home parent and doing that for a bit or for however long. All right. So there's this exercise, though, where you can go to the top of a mountain and you can look around. And I like to do this, I have a whole meditation around this, but you close your eyes and you really tune into who are these people who follow you up a freaking mountain. Okay. And why did they do that? And what did they come to you for? your whole life up to now, people have been coming to you for things, right? Like you are a light. So they've been coming to you for guidance, for insight, maybe for inspiration, for brainstorming support, for a shoulder to cry on, a helpful ear. And I want you all to tune into, well, what is that? Why did they come to connect with you? What is it that you put out into the world? And who are these people? Look around. What's the common thread that brought all these people together? And this is something I've been doing that exercise with people for quite some time, and literally I've done that in real life. Like I have people who meet me on mountains. Most recently, we just did this in Costa Rica. It's so funny. I know, it's like literally like it's a meditation, but like that happens in real life. And I led a retreat in Costa Rica earlier this year, and it was on the top of a mountain. And there were women who traveled from all over. One as far away from the Philippines. She traveled 36 hours one way to meet me and these other amazing women on the top of a mountain. And the work that we did was otherworldly. It was magical. It was potent. It was unforgettable. And when I look around at these women, what united them all was that they were, incredibly strong, incredibly brilliant, and they have a heart for helping people. That's what they do. And these aren't women who sit on the sidelines. These aren't women who just think about doing things. They freaking do it. And they figure it out, and they do it with my help and with the help of the other women. And they come to get the support from me because they know that I've walked this road too. And I don't just talk about it. I'm in the fire with them. And I create this powerful container for transformation and for them to strip away all that isn't, to remember their true nature. And so that's what I want everyone to do, is to really think about, if someone was going to meet you on the top of a mountain, why would they come? Why would they travel 36 hours, let's say, to come? What are they going to get by just being in your presence? And then what unites them all? Like, look around at those people. And then you'll see a common thread there, and that will either guide you into the next stage of your entrepreneurial journey, or it might inspire you to go then apply for a job at a particular company, particular industry, maybe a promotion within your current space, a conversation with your manager, or whatever. But for those of you who are called to entrepreneurship, that's what I focus on. And, it's an amazing road. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's so freaking worth it. And that's why, again, I wrote that first book, Get Gutsy, because I wanted to put my own process down on paper to inspire those who felt lost around their calling, because that can feel very debilitating. And that's what I struggled with for a long time. And that book has helped a lot of people.
And for me, the phrase comes to mind, if you want to heal the world, heal yourself first. Yeah. And just like you said, what do other people come to you for advice or come to you for? Mm-hmm. And really taking a look at your own journey, and to know that maybe you might have this idea or business or passion now, but 100% it's going to change and evolve. Like 100%. It's not going to stay the same forever.
1,000%. 1,000%. My journey, I look back and it's like, the common link is I've identified working with women from the get-go. There was something about bringing women together exclusively, because I knew then, and I still know now, that when women gather, magic happens. All right. But the people I've specialized in serving, that group has evolved because I have. And I said to my clients in Costa Rica, I said, this has been like the best group I've ever had. And then the next one will even be better. And it's not that they're better than you all. It's just that I keep getting stronger. I keep doing the work. I keep evolving. My message gets stronger. I get even clearer on who my work is best for and who it's not. And then I dial it up, and you become less afraid of really going there. I remember when I first started using the word witch, in some of my messaging, and talking about myself as a witch, and talking about a lot of my women as witches. Even they didn't realize that. I didn't know that about myself. I know that's the name of your podcast, right? You've got witch in the name of your podcast. I didn't know that until literally I read the book Witch by Lisa Lister a few years ago. And I was like, oh my God, like this is who I am. I didn't know that. And, the word witch has been, I mean, bastardized and persecuted, just the word. And of course, those people who were identified as witches those hundreds of years ago, which is heartbreaking that which has occurred. But you realize our responsibility now that we can claim this for ourselves and we can bring energy to it. And I've educated a lot of my clients. Some have come to me like, I'm afraid of that word. I said, well, that's totally understandable. Look at what's happened. And here's what I know to be true. And you can call yourself that or not. It doesn't matter to me. But I call myself that. And I know that about myself. And I appreciate that about me. I appreciate my practices. And I appreciate that energy of being a witch, and that we can reclaim that as women who really are connected to the earth and connected to our own body, connected to this wisdom that we have in our bones. We were born with this. And, once I started really bringing that energy, talking about magic, talking about spirituality, talking about conversations I have with angels, with God, with the universe, once I really surrendered to giving up alcohol, I've been sober for now close to 5 years. Just everything went to a whole nother dimension for me. And so I encourage you all who are tuning in, whether you're entrepreneurs or not, to be who you truly are and to trust that you're allowed. And yeah, some people will not come with you. Some people will flip out. It's okay. It has nothing to do with you. Your walk is yours. And when you find this path, it is your job to walk it and to trust that you're going to meet some really, really awesome people on this journey. And those who can't come with you, you can honor them for the path that you were able to walk together. And you can trust that what is in front of you is going to be so much better than what is behind you.
Oh, yes, 100%. And for me, I know that I've truly healed or moved through something when I can look at those people from the past, that maybe didn't come with me or quote unquote did something to me, where
Right.
The forgiveness is there. But for me, the feeling of forgiveness is actually gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Without every single thing happening in my life up until this point, I wouldn't be who I am today, wouldn't be where I am today or who I'm with today. And
Totally.
I had to have those experiences to work through, to heal, to be able to step out of that victimhood and into this master of my life or empowered witch. Because I think of the word witch, and I love what you said about it earlier. It's just a woman fully empowered in her own wisdom and in tune with all the energy of the cosmos and of the earth. And I think so many of us are feeling that right now, because I think there's energetically our human consciousness is at this breaking point, right? Where we feel there's a lot happening, globally, in our country, wherever, where we see a lot of this negative energy. You feel like, oh my God, the world's falling apart. But I really think that, it's the darkest before the dawn, where we're feeling called to live these more heart-centered lives, which is what you teach your clients, is connecting that mind, body, soul. And so we're seeing this contrast, and it's like, we have a choice. What would you rather live in, this victimhood, or would you like to step into your power?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And in my experience, what gets me so fired up is another piece of our power is also our financial power. And so that has really inspired me to go for it in my work and to help my women go for it in their work, because that's an area that women have been, quote, left behind and almost abused through the years. Lack of financial power and lack of ability to understand how to make that money and to do wonderful things with that money. And so that's an area where I feel is ripe for study and reclamation. And I want everyone here to realize that, money is a tool for making beautiful things happen. And it also can make horrible things happen, right? We've seen the abuse of money and power, but women, we do wonderful things with our wealth. We do wonderful things with this power. And that's an area that I'm very committed to. And it's the thing that inspires me to get up and do the things that I know I need to do and I must do, even though there's times when I'm also scared. Oh my gosh, because you feel naked, you feel exposed, you feel like you're going to deal with rejection, you're going to deal with people misunderstanding you, you're going to deal with haters, you're going to deal with, fill in the blank. We all have it. But when you're really tapped into that mission and the thing that you are here to do with this life, because y'all, does any of us here know when we're going to die? Like, can we say that with certainty? We can't. And my younger sister, she died when she was 12 and I was 16. And I have to say, Lauren, that is a huge motivator for me. Huge. That I've got to do this. I've been called. I'm saying yes. And hearing no is part of the freaking deal. And so I want everyone here, as one of your action steps is when the next time you freaking celebrate that. Like, celebrate that. Yes. Because we've got to go through no's to get through the yeses, to get to the yeses. When you hear a no, it just means like, great, I'm that much closer to a yes. Too many women take no as this rejection that's going to break your heart, it's going to kill you. It's not. And whatever gets killed off is the party that needs to die. It's the party that needs to die. The party that thinks that, any no, any rejection, anything not quote going your way, or the way you think it has to go is going to just completely crush you or make you stay hiding. But it's not. You are so much stronger than you give yourself credit for. So I want you all to embrace no's, and the no's that you also need to say in your own life. Because that's true, right? Anytime you might say a no, that leaves room for sacred yeses. When you decline something that you know is not a fit, that leaves room for those sacred yeses. And so that's definitely an action step that you all can take from today's conversation.
I love that. And to tie that in a little bit more, is an example of my own life of, with money and saying no is, I had to actually say no on a potential actual project or workshop where, they already, everything was good to go. And then I got back the pricing and I was like, look, this isn't how I value my time. And then I had to look at my big why. Is this going to make or break my big vision? By saying no to this, what am I actually freeing my time, freeing my energy, and allowing in more abundance? And abundance for me,
yes.
Or affluence. I like to think of the word affluence too, because it's the abundance of being in flow.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like, okay, saying no is actually opening up and allowing something bigger or something that's meant to be to come in.
Yes, totally. Yeah, you have to leave the space for that magic to flow in. If you're too weighed down by things that aren't aligned and that things where you're not valuing who you are and your magic and what you bring to the table, then you're going to be repelling and blocking what is meant for you.
For sure. And I think you touched on this before, but I love the way that you say this is you believe that women know how to sell are fully free. And you touched on that a little bit before, but could you go into more of that selling aspect into the financial freedom too?
Yeah. So, selling is essentially just putting your work out there and sharing. That's what selling is. And you're giving someone an opportunity to get a problem solved, right? Or to have an experience that they really want to have. Think about anything that you all have purchased before. You've bought something because it has, satisfied a need. It has allowed you to feel like, oh my God, that's going to be so fun, or I've always wanted that, or what have you. And so if you are in a sales position, all you're doing is inviting a person to get their needs met, get a solution to a problem. You're inviting them into an experience, and they're allowed to say yes or no. And your job actually as a salesperson is to get them to a decision, and not to get them to a yes, but get them to a decision, because not everyone is going to say yes. And in my work, I want aligned yeses only, right? My work is not for everyone. And that's great. My work is for who it's for. And so when you're in sales, you are in this place of sharing, and selling is really loving your people and loving your work and loving yourself. And so when you can be in that and trust again that you're going to go through some no's to get to those aligned yeses, then you realize that is essentially your job. And when you realize also that a business needs cash to continue operating, like your job is to ensure that the business gets the cash that it needs, then you realize you do what needs to be done, because that's how you fulfill your mission. You know, in my world and my clients, the way we're going to fulfill our mission is partly through our business. Okay. Because the business is that container for touching lives. It's that container for you spreading your message. It's that container for you receiving that abundance, and then paying your taxes and paying your expenses, which typically those expenses include other vendors and service providers that you get to support and who are supporting you. And then obviously you're getting money too from the business. All right. It's this whole beautiful loop. And so sales is this conduit for magic. The magic happens through the sale. I can't help someone fully in the way that I would love to and am best designed to unless they buy something from me, unless they buy. And so my job is to get that work in front of potential buyers. And then when I'm in front of those potential buyers, to engage in a conversation, an elegant conversation to enroll the right clients. Yeah. And so when you all are engaging in those sales, just enjoy it, love the process, and know that that is a key to your freedom. When you know that you can create money at will, then gosh, think about what you can do with that. If one of your kids needs that money, if your house needs something done, if you had this, medical emergency, if something were to happen, you're like, you know what, I'm going to go promote this thing. I'm going to go reach out to some potential people I'd love to work with. And you can generate whatever it is that you need. That is freedom.
Yes, it is. And I think of the words magical money. And I love how you put that. Is I think a lot of healers or empathic people who want to help heart-centered people sometimes feel that guilt for charging money, but it's an exchange of energy. And,
yes.
You are, in order to help as many people the way you're meant to, you need to make sure that your energy and your time and your expertise is getting that adequate return. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that's a big thing that I think most every person, no matter if they're a woman or a healer, needs to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a journey. And I want you all, the final point on that is, remember when they're buying the thing, as I work a lot with my clients on this, when they're pricing things, often my clients aren't charging enough. And so I say to them, they're not paying you $2,000, whatever the price point is. They're investing in themselves through your offering, and it comes through your business. They're paying your business for that. You're not getting the $2,000 yourself. Okay. Because people get tripped. Oh my God, the $2,000 for me for that. You're like, okay, chill. Because that's going to your business. You're getting a cut. The government gets their cut. You have expenses to run this business, and then you're going to pull some aside for profit as well. And I teach these concepts too to my people. We go down deep with it. But that's where people get tripped up, and they don't realize that's not all for you. Not all for you. Okay. It's not if you're like a businesswoman, you're realizing this. And it takes you a while. It took me forever to figure that out. All right. And it's okay if you didn't get it until now. Hopefully today you got it. And now you're going to move forward with just a stronger approach and a stronger, like you got to bring that energy to the mix. And that energy is what's going to be transmitted to your prospects and your clients.
Oh, beautiful. I think on that note, it's a beautiful way to kind of wrap things up. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on before we close today's episode?
Well, I think we're good. The tool I'd love to offer your people to just, for those who want to go deeper in that, really mastering your energy and mastering your time. I've got this Reclaim Your Time template, and it's a free resource for you all, and you can go get it at jennyfenig.com/schedule. jennyfenig.com/schedule.
Amazing. And we'll make sure to link all of that in the show notes. Thank you for sharing that with all of us.
Yes. Yeah, it's good.
I think I'm going to go over and download that now. But thank you again, Jenny, for coming on. I had such a magical time listening and just sharing all these beautiful concepts with you today. I love meeting souls like you through this show. It just lights my heart up. And as a thank you, I love to challenge our listeners. I'm sure I'm not the only one who is grateful for all the wisdom and the tips that you shared with us today of how can we, the listeners, be of service to you today?
Oh, thank you for that. Gosh. Well, download that tool that I mentioned because I know it will help you. And I love getting my stuff into your hands as well, because that's one of my gifts. I create things, like I have the ideas inside of me and then I bring them into form through these tools, through a program, through this, through that, through a message. And I encourage you to share this episode with a friend. I know that would be of service to both Lauren and myself. As we're both creatrixes, we work hard to bring our ideas into form. And a lot of it is just this heart of service. So reach out to at least one friend with this episode and say, I really feel like you would appreciate what is being talked about. Enjoy.
Amazing. Yes. And just as this episode is any episode, when you feel called to share something or you think of somebody, you never know how that's going to spark their own healing journey. So as always, I encourage you guys to share the links, share the episodes with any of your loved ones. And again, thank you so much, Jenny, for coming on the show today. It was so lovely chatting with you and learning so many new tips and tools and how to incorporate this witchy wisdom into your entrepreneurial lifestyle.
Yes. It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
And remember, open up, surrender, trust, and let your body lead the way.